This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Bahamas, I'm Shashina Roll-Parkinson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news this evening, Grand Bahamas tourism sector continues to rebuild after taking a heavy blow from the COVID-19 pandemic that brought the travel industry to a virtual standstill. But these days, the Ministry of Tourism is out front promoting Grand Bahama in the international market as a close and safe destination to visit. This weekend, tourism leaders hosted some influential players out of the Florida market, and they're looking to reap some good results. Our Megan Shepard has our top story.
The Ministry of Tourism is trying to get the word out that Grand Bahama is open for business. Radio personalities from Florida's iHeart radio station were given the full Grand Bahama tour and experience thanks to the local Ministry of Tourism. General Manager Stephen Johnson says that they want to dispel the myth that there isn't much to do on this northern island.
We wanted them to see everything that Grand Bahama has to offer. And so, Grand Bahama is prime. We're prime for people coming in. And so people always say there's not a lot of things to do. That's a notion. And so we want to dispel that notion. We want them to come here to taste, feel, and see Grand Bahama in our own special way.
The radio hosts will also help to promote a competition on their respective shows and encourage listeners to enter to win a free trip to the island.
We have a big contest going on with the radio station where we're encouraging people to come to Grand Bahama Island. And so we had them all over the place. The competition they have going on is basically an online competition, as well as with a website, radio, where persons have a chance to actually win a trip to Grand Bahama. And obviously we're partnering with Viva, and our partners in this as well is the Valeria. Why they came down in a private flight, they're leaving on Bahamas Air.
Stitches of iHeart Radio's 103.5 The Beat says this was her first trip to the island, but definitely won't be her last.
I'm so grateful that this was my first experience here. But it was just beautiful, from the people to the culture. Our amazing tour guide, we love you, and we love you, Anya, and Steve, and just everyone that was just so welcoming. And even the resort that we were on, Viva Wyndham Hotel, we thank you so much for just having us. It was amazing. Meeting the people, we were able to kind of went to 8 Mile Rock, and we also were able to meet some of the. I found a friend who went to FAMU, and she built her business here, and I think that was the Corner Bar. So shout out Vanessa, big up to Vanessa. They showed us how to make the conch salad, and I don't know, it was just beautiful. The people, and the land. So the island rather. So thank you for having us. I'm coming back, but I'm not coming by myself. So we're going to come back and bring some people with us. So thank you. Another home for us.
Drew of iHeart Radio's Y100 Miami echoing those sentiments.
We're right down the street, so there needs to be more people coming this way. I mean, there's just no excuse. The island is gorgeous. The people are phenomenal. The food is to die for. And there's so many experiences, again, between the ATVs, between diving. There's just so much to do on this island. So I will 1,000% be back, and I'm excited for that. Check everything. I documented the entire experience, too, on Instagram at Drew On Air, so definitely check that out. And, of course, listen to me talk about this incredible island on the show on iHeartRadio, Y100 Miami. So
he says he most definitely will be sharing his experience with his listeners.
We have done everything under the sun. I've eaten my body weight in conch, and it was amazing. I wish I could take some home with me. It was so much fun. We did ATVs. I pet a stingray. Bucket list. I pet a stingray. We did free diving. We saw wildlife and fish, and there was just something every day. We had so much fun, and the weather held out too, except for the last day, which is great. The Bahamian people are phenomenal. That's the real takeaway for me too, is just the people, the culture. Everybody's so welcoming, and I love that. I'll be back 1,000%. So.
Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Great story, Megan. Well, the image of this Freeport is also important when it comes to promoting the island in the international market. The cleanup of Freeport remains a major challenge since a monster storm Hurricane Dorian, but port officials say it is not because they aren't doing their part to keep Grand Bahama clean. The amount of debris on Grand Bahama left behind since Hurricane Dorian continues to plague the island. But President of the Grand Bahama Port Authority, Ian Roll, says significant inroads have been made to clean up the island. However, many residents are not doing their part to keep it that way.
After cleaning a particular area on day one, or even within a few hours, more debris is being placed in these particular areas. We have certain hot spots. What we can do is continue to educate persons to let them know that it affects the growth of the island.
And when it comes to the abandoned buildings, many have asked the entity charged with the upkeep of the Freeport area to simply demolish them. But while Roll admits that these are an eyesore, there is also a process required by law before any demolition could take place.
And those bylaws currently says to the Port Authority, okay, you need to now engage the services of an independent engineer to determine the structure of the building. Is it a sound structure? And not because a building doesn't have windows or a door or a hole in the roof, that is not a sound structure and cannot be fixed. So a number of these buildings, an example of one is the building located by the Grand Lucayan area. All right? That building, an independent engineer looked at that and gave us a report. It's still sound. So you cannot demolish it.
But Roll notes that the port is working with the government to change these laws. Another eyesore in the Freeport community is the Princess Hotel and the International Bazaar. There have been some discussions locally on whether or not the hotel would be an ideal location for the University of the Bahamas North. Here's what he had to say.
We have to speak to the budget of the University of the Bahamas. I don't know what that is. Now I've heard that they have identified a location to move to, but one, you have to identify what their budget is and the willingness of the Harcourt Group to actually also sell for whatever the University of Bahamas could afford. So there are different things you have to consider.
Shashina Roll-Farquharson, ZNF Network. Well, flying termites, especially at night, many residents on Grand Bahama have seen them. Some have reported seeing them in abundance in local neighborhoods. But if you see these winged termites indoors, your alarm bells should be ringing loud and clear, as these insects should not be taken lightly. Here's Jamila Mizik with this report.
They are called super termites, and Operations Manager at Budget Pest Control, Hugh Ferguson, says he first noticed the species on the island some 11 years ago, and ever since they've been swarming every year.
They're reproducing, they're spreading, and so right now they're literally island-wide. And so starting a few weeks ago, their swarming season is literally from April the 15th through to June, the end of June. And during that period of time, they would literally be swarming, they'll be mating, they'll be establishing new colonies. And so that's something that the residents are now experiencing.
Now, recently, Ferguson says some businesses have had to close because of the level of infestation, and he notes that they generally swarm after sundown. He says the super termites are the most destructive species of termites known to man.
If you look at the amount of damage that all termites will do in 20 years, the super termites will do in 20 months. They're just that. Colonies that large, they're that ferocious in their appetite, and they're literally eating 24/7. They never sleep, and they're just chewing that structure. So once they get into your home, it's not a matter of whether you're going to have expense. It's a matter of how much expense you're going to have, because in most cases, we find that the people have had to change their entire roof. People have to change all of their cabinetry.
Ferguson says the termites can travel from the ground up, but are versatile enough to enter from the roof and are even able to eat through pressure-treated wood.
A lot of them would go back into the soil and start a colony in the soil, but also some would land on the roof. And then if there's a moist area, you have a roof leak, or you have air condition, condensation or something going on in there, and if that wood has a little high moisture content, they're going to find that very attractive. They're going to start that colony in that wood in your ceiling, in the roof. And literally in a matter of months, you're going to have serious damage taking place.
And he notes that in addition to homes, they are a serious threat to forestry as well. He shares this advice.
If you got trees near your home, so just check around the trunk, make sure that there's no opening, make sure there's no hole in the tree that would indicate their presence. Also, it is best not to plant any trees, any shrubbery next to the house. So these are things that homeowner can do. Don't plant any trees next to the house. Don't have any mulch next to the house. Have your home, have the grade of the soil slanted away from the house so that moisture don't accumulate at the base of your foundation, because the one thing that is most attractive to them is moisture.
Now, if you have any concerns, Ferguson says you should call your local exterminator, but most importantly, conduct annual inspections to catch the infestation early on to avoid serious damage. Jamila Missick, ZNS Network News.
In other news, the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture's 2021 Job Readiness Program has come to a close on Grand Bahama. The 7-week course was designed to address the issue and unemployment and improve job skills among participants. The closing out ceremony taking place at the St. Paul's Methodist Church today, and Aramiko Knowles was there.
For the past 7 weeks, youths between the ages of 17 and 25 have been actively engaged in the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture Job Ready program. The participants were employed as interns at various companies in Grand Bahama, and they all gathered in the halls of St. Paul's Methodist Church for the closing ceremony. Intern Taisha Curry gave the welcoming address.
This was indeed a special program. We had so many lively guest speakers that came in and forced us outside of our comfort zone, and they went beyond teaching the do's and don'ts during and after a job interview. But they also reminded us of the whys when they unknowingly touched on matters that hit close to home. And through them, we learned how networking, teamwork, budgeting and saving, and a positive mindset is not only connected to achieving the job, but also to those goals that we set out for ourselves. And by applying a few of those tips, it made my internship at Alive one of the best experiences that I've ever had.
The Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, the Honorable Iram Lewis, on hand congratulating the first cohort to successfully complete the course.
As we strive to create our new normal, and yeah, that's a buzzword nowadays, new normal, this group has been equipped with the tools needed to flourish in the work environment locally and, of course, abroad. Personally, I look forward to these young people taking their place as leaders in the workplace of tomorrow. We are here to celebrate the accomplishment of our, and I love this number, 72 determined young people who have stepped up to the challenge set out to them by their facilitators.
Having graduated, Lewis notes that the interns are better equipped to enter the workforce.
I am proud to say these young people show us the positive and great potential of the future. Parents and relatives, you should be proud as these young persons give us hope for a brighter tomorrow. Come on, yes?
Youth Program Coordinator Carla Brown-Roker says she is motivated more than ever to continue the path of preparing the youth.
Today I'm so grateful to God. I truly am, for meeting this group of diverse young people. People think young people are just sitting home, getting ready to light up one backward, using Facebook to pose naked. You know, they have this negative view of young people. And mind you, there are some of them that are doing that. But what I'm here to say is that the majority of them are not doing that.
Now a 2-week virtual Job Ready program also came to a close. The virtual participants shared their experience.
The Job Ready program has been an astonishing and informative experience. We were all able to enhance our knowledge and unlock our hidden skills during our virtual sessions.
And it's been a truly wonderful experience, and I've been asked even to keep applying, to come back and volunteer until the government to hire me, because it is a process. But I'm just saying that just to encourage you all, just keep God first. Keep pushing, never be discouraged, and to always just try your best.
This program has not only prepared me for the workforce, but it prepared me for my everyday life. It was a pleasure to have an opportunity to be a part of this spiritual program that made room for more growth, and knowledge.
When I say job, you all say ready. Job! Ready. All right then.
The graduates all received certificates for meeting the requirements of the Job Ready program. In addition, following the 7-week course, many of them were hired at the establishments they interned at. Ramiko Knowles, ZNS Network News.
And it is Labor Week in the country, and unionists on Grand Bahama are celebrating the annual observance with a number of activities. Area Vice President for the Bahamas Union of Teachers, Quentin LaRota, sharing some of the events slated for this week.
Last year, due to COVID, of course, we didn't have much Labor Day celebrations, but we look forward this year to the return of Labor Week. And so we began the week with a church service yesterday with Pastor Carol Roach at New Horizon. The next event on the calendar is Thursday night at 7. It's called the Night of Labor. I'm the honoree for this year's Labor Day. And that night, I would be celebrated in grand style here at the Bahamas Union of Teachers, Belinda M. Wilson complex.
Now, the Sir Randall Fox Labor Day holiday is being observed on Friday, June 4th this year. And LaRota says instead of the annual parade, they will be celebrating differently.
We usually have a march, but due to COVID, we're going to have a motorcade starting at the bazaar. We'll travel east on the Sunrise Highway to Coral Road, and then we take the left, Pioneers Way, and then we end the parade right here at the BUT grounds, and then we'll have our rally in which the labor leaders from the various unions will address concerns from their unions. We're inviting the public to participate in the motorcade as we once again celebrate the workers of this country and what they have done in terms of building this country.
Stay with us. There's more news on the other side of the break.